At the heart of the city stood the Kejo Market Gate, a busy entrance where life, noise, and stories met every day. Among the crowd sat a man in torn clothes, dusty slippers, a tattered shirt, and a cap pulled low to hide his face. His name was Toby Akonji, though no one there knew it. To them, he was just another beggar. But in truth, Toby was the CEO of Akonji Holdings, one of the fastest growing companies in the city. That morning, Toby had woken up with a heavy heart. For months, he'd been engaged to Linda, a beautiful woman from an influential family. Everyone said she was perfect, stylish, educated, and confident. But lately, Toby had begun to notice something that troubled him. Linda respected wealth, not people. She looked down on waiters, drivers, and street hawkers. Once, at a restaurant, she had mocked an old woman selling groundnuts. These people should be banned from the city, she had said, fanning herself. Toby had smiled weakly, but that night, her words echoed in his mind. He needed to know, did Linda truly love him, or only his money? So he made a plan. With the help of his driver, he dressed in ragged clothes, rubbed dust on his face, and sat by the market gate with an old timbo. If she can love me like this, he whispered to himself, then I know her heart is true. Around 11 a.m., the market was alive with color. Women balanced trays of oranges on their heads, men pushed wheelbarrows, and conductors shouted. That's when Linda's white SUV pulled up near the gate. The tinted glass rolled down, revealing her flawless makeup and gold earrings. She was on her way to the salon nearby. Toby's heart raced. He lowered his head and stretched out his timbo. Madam, please help me, he said softly. Just small change to eat. Linda turned, squinting. Who is that? He raised his face slowly, enough for her to see him clearly. For a moment, her eyes widened in disbelief. He smiled faintly. Please, madam, help me. I've not eaten today. Linda gasped, then laughed, a cold, sharp laugh that drew attention. Wait, is this some kind of joke? What nonsense is this? God forbid. People nearby began to stare. A fruit seller whispered, "No waiting they happen." Toby kept his head bowed. Madam, please, I'm hungry. Linda folded her arms, her voice dripping with disgust. So you mean to tell me you're one of those lazy men who sit by the road begging for money? You can't even work. Her driver tried to calm her, but she waved him off. No, let me talk. These are the kind of people that spoil our society, dirty, lazy, shameless. A small crowd gathered. Some giggled. Others shook their heads. Then came a soft voice from the side, Madam, please don't talk to him like that. Linda turned sharply. Standing beside her car was a young woman in a faded yellow dress, her hair tied in a scarf. She carried a tray of boiled groundnuts and oranges. Sweat glistened on her forehead, but her eyes held quiet strength. My sister, Linda sneered, do you know this man? No, the young woman said, but even if he is a beggar, he still deserves respect. You can help or walk away, but don't insult him. The crowd murmured in agreement. Linda's face darkened. You this market girl, do you know who I am? How dare you speak to me like that? The hawker stepped closer and dropped a few coins into Toby's bowl. Uncle, please take this. It's not much, but God will provide. Toby looked up slowly, their eyes meeting. For a moment, he was speechless. He saw kindness, pure and unfiltered, something that had been missing in his world for too long. Thank you, he said quietly. You're welcome, she replied, smiling gently before walking away. Linda scoffed. Nonsense. Associating with beggars. Birds of the same feather. She slammed her car door and drove off, leaving a trail of dust and shame behind her. When the market quieted, Toby stood up, brushed the dust from his trousers, and removed his cap. The young woman had stopped a few steps away, arranging her oranges. He walked toward her. Sister, he said softly, thank you for what you did back there. She looked up, surprised that the beggar could speak so clearly. Oh, it's nothing. You shouldn't let her words bother you. Some people have money but no manners. Toby smiled faintly. You're right. May I know your name? My name is Amora, she said shyly. I sell fruits here every day. Amora, he repeated thoughtfully. That means grace, doesn't it? She nodded, blushing slightly. Yes, my mother said she named me that because I was born after a storm. Toby chuckled. A storm brings rain, and rain brings growth. Amora smiled. You talk like someone who has seen a lot. Toby's eyes softened. Maybe I have. Toby looked at her with quiet admiration. You're a rare kind of person, Amora. The world needs more like you. He turned to leave, but she called after him. Wait. You didn't tell me your name. He hesitated, then said with a gentle smile, just call me Toby. And then he walked away, his heart heavy but also strangely light. That evening, Toby sat by his window, watching the sunset over the city. He thought about everything that had happened, Linda's mockery, Amora's kindness, the look in her eyes when she gave her last coins. He realized the truth he'd been afraid to face. Linda loved his status, not his soul. As the city lights blinked to life, he whispered to himself, sometimes, God hides truth in the most ordinary places. And today, I found Grace by the market gate. He picked up his phone and dialed his assistant. Mr. Philip, I want you to prepare something tomorrow morning. There's a young woman named Amora who sells fruits near Ikeja market gate. Invite her to our company for a small business interview. Tell her she's been recommended for a vendor opportunity. Philip paused. Sir, should I tell her who you are? Toby smiled faintly. No. Let her come and see for herself. As he ended the call, his heart felt peaceful for the first time in months. The test had shown him what money could never buy, the difference between beauty and goodness. And somewhere across the city, Amora packed her tray, humming softly, unaware that destiny had just taken a new turn in her favor. At the corner of Ikeja market, Amora arranged her fruits neatly on her wooden table. She had barely started when her phone buzzed. The number was unfamiliar. Hello, she said cautiously. Good morning, a man's voice replied politely. Am I speaking with Miss Amora? Yes, who is this? This is Philip, from Okonji Holdings. You've been recommended for a small business vendor opportunity. The managing director would like to see you today at 11 a.m. Amora froze. Okonji Holdings. Oh, sir, I think you have the wrong person. I just sell oranges and groundnuts. Philip chuckled softly. There's no mistake, ma'am. The recommendation came directly from the managing director himself. Please come to our head office in Victoria Estate by 11 a.m. Dress comfortably. Before she could ask more, the call ended. Amora stood there, confused. The managing director himself, she whispered. But, who could that be? Her friend Gozi, another hawker nearby, overheard and laughed. Maybe it's a scam. You better be careful. But Amora shook her head. Something in the caller's voice felt genuine. After a few moments of hesitation, she decided. If God opens a door, I won't be afraid to walk through it. She went home, bathed quickly, and borrowed her sister's neat brown gown. By 10:30 a.m., she boarded a bus heading to Victoria Estate, her heart pounding with uncertainty and hope. At exactly 11 a.m., Amora stood before a tall glass building, Okonji Holdings. It gleamed under the sun like a symbol of power and success. Security guards opened the gate for her after confirming her name. She entered the lobby, eyes wide. The air smelled of perfume and fresh coffee. Men in suits walked briskly, women typed behind glass desks. It felt like another world. Good morning, ma'am, a receptionist greeted warmly. Please, you're expected. This way. They led her into a quiet waiting area. Her palms were sweaty. She clasped them together and whispered a small prayer. Moments later, Philip, a young man in a blue suit, appeared. Miss Amora. This way, please. The managing director will see you now. As the elevator doors opened, Amora's breath caught. The office she entered was large, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Behind the mahogany desk sat a man in a dark suit, his back turned to her. "Good morning, sir," she said nervously. "Good morning, Miss Amora," came a calm, familiar voice. "Please, have a seat." She froze. That voice, she had heard it before. The man turned slowly. Her eyes widened. The breath left her chest. It was him, the beggar from the market. Except he wasn't a beggar now. He was clean-shaven, confident, and regal. The same eyes, the same gentle smile. But now, the truth stood tall before her. "Mr. Toby," she whispered, trembling. "Yes," he said softly. "Though most people call me Mr. Toby Akonji." For a long moment, the room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. Amora's heart raced. She stood abruptly. You lied to me." Toby smiled faintly. "Not lied, tested." "Tested." Her voice trembled between anger and confusion. "Why would you pretend to be a beggar? Why make a fool of me?" He rose from his seat, walking around the desk slowly. "I didn't mean to deceive you, Amora. I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. Yesterday, you defended me when everyone else laughed. Even my fiancé." He paused, his eyes softening. "I wanted to know if love and kindness still exist in a world blinded by status." Amora's anger melted into disbelief. "Your fiancé? That woman who insulted you?" "Yes. Her name is Linda." Amora gasped. "So she really is your fiancé?" "Was," Toby corrected quietly. "I ended it last night. I realized her love was built on pride, not affection." "But you," he smiled faintly. "You showed me something real. You gave without expecting anything in return. You reminded me that true worth isn't measured in money." Amora blinked back tears. "I didn't do anything special. I just did what was right." Toby nodded. "And that's exactly what makes it special." He gestured for her to sit again. "Amora, I invited you here because I believe good people deserve good chances. I want to help you grow your fruit business. We'll provide you with packaging, delivery support, and a small grant. I want your name to be on every fruit bag sold to our company staff." Amora's eyes widened. "Sir, that's too much. I don't deserve all that." Toby smiled warmly. "You deserve more than you think. You didn't mock me when I was in the dirt. You lifted me with kindness. Let this be a reminder that God sees what others ignore." Her lips trembled. "Thank you, sir. I don't know what to say." "Just keep being who you are," he said softly. "The world needs more Amoras." Meanwhile, across town, Linda scrolled through social media. Her phone buzzed with messages. "Is it true your fiancé was seen dressed like a beggar? Why did you insult that man at a KJ gate?" Someone had filmed the scene at the market, and the video was spreading fast. Linda's face, her proud words, everything was online. Her phone rang. It was Toby. "Toby, please, I can explain," she cried as soon as she answered. "There's nothing to explain," he said calmly. "Love is not makeup, Linda. It's how you treat people when no one is watching." "Toby, please, forgive me." "I have," he said softly. "But we walk different roads now. Goodbye." He hung up, leaving Linda in tears, watching her world crumble under the weight of her pride. Later that evening, Toby and Amora met again in the company's garden. The sunset painted the sky orange, and the air carried a soft breeze. Amora looked around, still unsure if all this was real. "Sir, I still can't believe yesterday you were sitting by the roadside." Toby chuckled. "Neither can I, life is full of surprises. Yesterday, you gave me a few coins. Today, I give you a new start. Tomorrow, who knows what God will give both of us." Amora smiled shyly. "You talk like someone who's already found peace." Toby looked toward the horizon. "Maybe I have. Because peace doesn't come from money. It comes from truth and grace. Their eyes met, and for a moment, silence spoke louder than words. The city lights began to glow below them, and Toby whispered, almost to himself, "Yesterday, I was a stranger by the market gate. But today, I've met Grace, and her name is Amara." Amara smiled, a tear rolling down her cheek. 2 months later, the rainy season arrived in Lamari City. The morning smelled of wet earth, and the streets shimmered with puddles. Life in the market carried on as usual, but for Amara, everything had changed. Where she once stood with a tray on her head, she now owned a small fruit stand with her name boldly written on the signboard. Grace Fruits Enterprise, freshness you can trust. Every fruit was neatly packed, labeled, and sealed in bright paper bags, all supplied to Okonji Holdings and other nearby offices. Her business had grown faster than she ever imagined. Each morning, a van from Toby's company came to pick up her goods. Sometimes, Philip stopped by to check on her progress. But Toby himself, the man who had changed her life, she hadn't seen in weeks. He had been busy, traveling between Lagos, Nairobi, and Johannesburg for company expansion. Yet somehow, every time her phone beeped with a credit alert or a message of encouragement, she knew he was still watching from afar. One rainy afternoon, Amara sat in her small shop counting her earnings when a familiar voice startled her. "Do you give discounts for CEOs, or do we pay full price?" She looked up, and her face broke into a wide smile. Toby. He stood by the doorway, holding a small umbrella, his smile gentle and proud. "You didn't even tell me you were back," she said, rising to greet him. "I wanted to surprise you," he said, glancing at the colorful fruits. "Look at this place, you've done wonders. You turned a tray into a business." She laughed. "With your help." He shook his head. "No. With your heart." They sat together as the rain drummed softly on the roof. For a moment, there was only silence between them, a silence full of meaning. Amara finally spoke. "You know, sometimes I wonder why God made our paths cross. You, a rich man pretending to be poor, me, a poor woman just trying to survive." Toby smiled faintly. "Maybe because he wanted to show both of us something. That wealth without kindness is poverty, and kindness without pride is true riches." Her eyes glistened. "That's a deep one, sir." He laughed softly. "Please, stop calling me sir. I've told you, just call me Toby." She nodded shyly. "Okay. Toby." The way she said his name warmed his heart more than he expected. Later that week, Okonji Holdings held its annual charity gala, a grand event where the company honored community partners and vendors. The hall sparkled with lights, and guests in elegant attire filled the space. Amara received a special invitation, hand-delivered. At first, she was hesitant. Me? Attend a gala? Among all those rich people? But her sister insisted. "Go, Amara. You've earned it. Walk with your head high." So she wore a modest peach-colored gown and tied her hair neatly. That evening, she stepped into the ballroom, her heart thudding. Toby was already at the podium, speaking to the audience. When his eyes met hers, his expression softened. He smiled and continued, "Tonight, we honor not just success, but character. True greatness is not measured by what we own, but by what we give. And there's someone here who embodies that truth more than anyone I know." The audience turned curiously as he gestured toward Amara. "Please welcome Miss Amara Nwosu, founder of Grace Fruits Enterprise, and a woman whose kindness changed my life." The crowd applauded. Amara's eyes widened as she rose slowly, trembling. Toby stepped down and met her halfway, taking her hand gently. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice steady, "some months ago, I disguised myself as a beggar to test the heart of my then fiancée. She failed that test. But by God's grace, I met someone whose compassion restored my faith in humanity." A murmur swept through the room. "She didn't know who I was," he continued. "She gave what little she had. She defended a stranger when it cost her nothing. And because of that heart, she's standing here today, not as a hawker, but as a businesswoman, partner, and friend." The hall erupted in applause. Some guests stood. Others wiped tears. Toby turned to Amora, his voice softening. Amora, you taught me that humility is the highest form of wisdom. You reminded me that love is not about wealth or status, but sincerity. And tonight, I want the whole world to know that I honor you deeply. Amora's eyes shimmered with tears. Toby, I only did what any decent person should do. He smiled gently. And that's exactly why you're rare. After the event, they stood outside under the night sky, away from the noise. The city lights flickered below like fireflies. Toby loosened his tie, finally breathing freely. Amora looked at him, her voice soft. You've given me more than I ever dreamed of, Toby. How do I ever repay you? He looked at her quietly. You already did, the day you gave me your last coins. A moment passed, tender and still. Then he reached into his pocket and brought out a small box. Amora, he said gently, I know life has tested us both. But in you, I found truth. In you, I found grace. And I don't want to lose that. Her eyes widened as he opened the box, not with a diamond ring, but with a simple silver band. He continued, this isn't about wealth or show. It's about heart. Will you walk this path with me, as a partner, in business and in life? Tears filled Amora's eyes. She nodded slowly. Yes, Toby. I will. The rain began to fall again, soft, cleansing, and full of promise. He slipped the ring onto her finger as thunder rolled gently in the distance. The streetlights reflected off the raindrops like falling stars. And there, by the gate of his company, the same way their story began by the gate of the market, two hearts found peace.